Hey, welcome back to the Victoria Marie YouTube channel where I feature all things scrapbooking. Today I'm going to dig into my Document December album. Essentially I'm doing December daily, but using Ellie Studio Document December products. To see a full look at all those products, make sure you check out the playlist for this project. I'm getting started with day one. Normally when I start this project, I like to journal my intentions. However, we had a very challenging start of December. My mother got sick, and so I'm a little behind in posting videos, a little behind in life anyway, so I'm trying to catch up and go back and tell the stories. When I initially recorded this video, I was doing the narration while I was recording it, and during playback, I didn't like the narration, so you're going to see me gesture a lot at the beginning of this video, so do apologize for that. So let's dig right in. I have this cork number 1, which I'm going to show you how I made in just a moment. Also some vellum pieces that I have cut 6x8 and 3x8. I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to use just yet. And then some elements that I'm going to use as a layering feature on top of the number 1. I'm really focusing on creating a different design for each numbered day in my album. I also used my Silhouette Cameo to cut out the star. This was a design that I purchased from the Silhouette Cameo shop, as well as some 'Tis the Season paper by Ellie Studio to back that cut file. Now that cork number 1, I created just simply using a template. I found a stock number in the Silhouette Studio. I resized that so that it had height to about 8 inches or so. And then I'm tracing it on my cork and I'm cutting it out. Now initially I thought I could just die cut the number from the cork by putting it on my mat for my Silhouette, and there's lots of materials that you can use on your die cutting machines, not just the Silhouette but Cricut and Brother and some others. But this particular cork is very thin and it tears easily, and it did not work. So I decided just to create a template using some black cardstock. I traced it, cut it out, and there we go. Now I'm trying to audition the items on the embellishments on the cork number 1. I want to do a cluster, so I'm going to use that star as my foundation or my anchor, and then I'm going to build around that. Initially I'm going to use that candy cane, but that candy cane does not make it, and you'll see it in just a few. I'm also going back and forth between which size vellum that I want to use. I really wish I had some acetate, but I don't, so I went ahead and used some vellum. I decided ultimately I'm going to use the 3x8 piece. Adding some adhesive to the back of that cork, I'm going to go ahead and adhere that on there, and it's going to serve somewhat as a divider as well as labeling the first story in my album for day 1. I'm also adding some adhesive to the back of this little die cut here, and then of course backing that with the Ellie Studio paper, and that pattern paper says "'Tis the Season" repeatedly across the design. Now 6x8 papers are perfect for something like this because the design on a 6x8 paper is small, so you can see all those wonderful little elements if you're backing it behind a cut file. I'm going to add some adhesive, but I start to notice that the rough parts of that die cut where I've cut and trimmed and glued show in the back of that vellum or through that vellum. So I'm going to take a piece of the 6x8 or 6x6 pattern paper from the 'Tis the Season paper pack. I'm going to trace out this star, and then I'm going to cut it and back it so that it has a decorative element whenever I flip that little divider. So here I am cutting that out. Now one thing I want to focus on and challenge myself, and I'm going to challenge you too, is to use all the tools, try all the techniques. I tend to go with stuff or techniques that I'm typically comfortable with, but I've been seeing all kinds of fantastic interactive techniques and using different materials in your December albums that I've been really inspired. And it sort of goes along with my one little word for 2020, which is create. I'm really challenging myself to create more and to learn new things next year. So I thought I'd get a head start on that with this album. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add the candy cane, or so I thought. It doesn't lay flat because I have some twine wrapped around and it's just not fitting well. I thought I was going to add some foam adhesive, so I take it off. I also take a tool that helps remove adhesive off of elements. You're going to see me do that in a second because I want to add some foam and I want to make sure that it looks clean in the back. And then of course I tear it, and at this point I yell a pretty loud cuss word. Then I have to dig through my die cuts and find another die cut. So I'm auditioning different pieces. I decide to go with that little stocking and then as well as that little puffy label that says "'Tis the Season." So I'm going to just tuck that in right there in that little element that's featured on the star. And then I'm going to add this little puffy sticker that says "'Tis the Season." I had that backed with some vellum because I wanted to be able to audition it on my piece before I actually committed to it. I'm going to add some foam to that so it adds a little bit of dimension. I love all the texture. I love all the dimension. It's beautiful. And I think I'm pretty much done with this piece. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm trying to decide if I want to add anything else. So I look at my die cuts again and I add that gray star, or at least I thought. Didn't like it, so I'm going to go back to my puffy elements from the Ho 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 puffy sheet. I add a little present. I thought I was going to back that entire piece with another cork number 1 to hide the adhesive, but it actually was okay. So there we go. That piece is all done. I'm going to slip that right in the album to see how that works. It's beautiful. It's interactive, has lots of texture, and I actually like it. I'm not so sure about backing it on the vellum because I really, really wanted acrylic, and maybe I'll change that. I'm not sure, but you know, it's fine for now. All right, so I'm going to address the journaling, and in the journaling, I talk about how my mother got sick, how the month kind of started off a little blah, and I'm really just trying to find the spirit of the season. I created the journaling in Microsoft Word. I just did a text box and resized that to 6x8, so you don't need something like Photoshop in order to do this. You can create a 6x8 text box and create your journaling, print it out, and pop it in your album. All right, so I add a label there to the top, and I want to spell out real life, but I quickly discover that I don't have enough room on that label, so I thought I would layer another label on top, and I didn't really care for that. So I'm just going to take the green label, the green and white label. That gives me enough space to spell out real life. And you know, the truth about this time of year is just because it's December doesn't mean that bad things or sad things or stressful things don't happen. They in fact do. And I want to make sure that I document these things even in my December daily albums. All right, so I went ahead and laid down that title using some puffy font stickers as well as a puffy heart from the LA Studio Document December kit. I felt that I needed something at the bottom, so I'm going to wrap some twine around the bottom. Again, another textural element, another design element, using my stash. I had some of this twine just kind of sitting about, so I thought I would add it to that. I could have done some stitching, I could have done some stamping, there's lots of different things. I'm going to secure that with a little bit of washi tape so that when I put it in the album, it doesn't slip up or move anywhere. And there we go, my journaling along with a nice little title. I'm going to slip that into the page protector, and I'm going to call that good. Even though I'm a little delayed in getting this process started, I still love it. This is one of my favorite projects of the year. I love how this element turned out, and I really enjoy looking at that photo that I resized the 6x8 with my daughter and my spouse. They're putting candy canes on a tree, and they're posing. I told them to act natural. That's the pose that I got. I also love giving myself grace to just talk about life in the way that it's happening. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything when I go back to look and read and look at this album. I want to get a clear picture of what was going on in our lives at that time. So just keeping it real and also enjoying the season. If you want to see some stills of this album as it comes together, make sure you subscribe to the Victoria Marie blog. And if you like these videos, hit that subscribe button, click the bell indicator. That way you'll know each and every time a new video is posted. I'll see you in the next one.